So today I'm gonna talk about lesson 6-2, which is convert between percents, fractions and decimals. So I'm gonna start with an example. So first thing, suppose here I have 65% and the question is fine, I want to find the fraction. And the decimal number for it. So first, what does it mean a percent? A percent is a ratio that compares any number to 100. So here basically if I have any percent, the thing to do is to go and write the number exactly as it is and divide it by 100. So here I have 65 over 100. So here I need the fraction to be in the simplest form. So I can see here we can divide both by 5. So here I'm gonna find 13 and here it will be 20. And this is the simplest form of the fraction. Okay, before doing this step, it will be easier to find the decimal using this fraction. So if I have 65 over 100, what does it mean? Means I'm gonna move the decimal point 2 times to the left. So always the decimal point is at the end of the number and I have to move it twice to the left. So here 1 and 2. So it has to be here before the 6. So my decimal number will be 0.65. So it's so easy. Let's do another example so you can understand better. So suppose here I have 18%. So I'm gonna do the same thing to find the fraction. I'm gonna write the number as it is over 100. So here we can divide the numerator and denominator both by 2. So I'm gonna be left with 9 out of 50. And this is the simplest form of the fraction. So to find the decimal number, I told you, it would be easier to use the fraction with the 100 on the bottom. So the same idea, I'm gonna make a decimal point and I have to move it twice to the left. So it will be 0.18. Let's do one more question. If I have, for example, 94%. So I'm gonna write the number as it is over 100. So here we can divide numerator and denominator by 2. So here it will be over 50. And this is the simplest fraction. And as I told you, I'm gonna use the first fraction to find the decimal number. So here my decimal point and I'm gonna move twice to the left. So it will be 0.94. So this one is my decimal number. And this is my simplest fraction. Okay, now for the second part of the video, I'm gonna show you how can we go from a fraction to a percent and from a fraction to a decimal number. So I'm gonna start with an example. Let's take, for example, 8 out of 15. I want to make it a percent. So my advice for you to go for a percent, start always with going to a decimal number. So for example here I have 8 out of 15. So how can we find the decimal number for this fraction? I have to make the longer division. So suppose here I have 8 over 15. So I'm gonna ask myself, can I divide 8 by 15? No, because 8 is less than 15. So I'm gonna put a 0. And here I'm gonna add a 0. So I'm gonna ask myself now 80 divided by 15. So it will give me a 5. And 5 times 15 will give me 75. So I'm gonna minus 75. So I'm gonna be left with a 5. Again, I'm gonna repeat the same thing. So now 50 divided by 15 will give me 3. And 3 multiplied by 15 will give me 45. So I'm left again with a 5, and I will continue. So it will continue always with the number 3. So for the decimal number, I need only 3 place values after the decimal point. So here the answer will be 0, 5, 3, 3. So this is my decimal number. How can I go for a percentage? So to go from a decimal to a percent, I have just to multiply by 100. So what does it mean multiplying by 100? Means moving the decimal point 2 times to the right, so and it will be 53.5%. So before a while I show you how can we divide by 100. It was moving the decimal point 2 times to the left. Now once we are multiplying by 100, we have to move it to the right twice. So I'm gonna use another example. So I'm gonna use, for example, question 2. Let's say here we have 7 out of 50. So here I will use another method to find the percent, because here, as you see here, the 50 we can easily make it 100 by multiplying by 2. So it will be 14 out of 100, and it will be automatically 14%. And if I want to make it a decimal, so I have to move the decimal point 2 times to the left, so it will be 0.14. So it depends on the number that you have on your denominator. You can choose one of this method. So I'm gonna use another example. Let's say here we have 3 out of 8. So I cannot make 8 easily 100. That's why I'm gonna go use the long division. So 3 out of 8. So 3 divided by 8 is 0. So 30 divided by 8 is 3. So minus 24. So it will give me a 6. I'm gonna repeat. So 60 divided by 8 is 7. So it's 56. And here it will be a 4. So 40 divided by 8 is a 5. So it will be 0.375. This is the decimal. To go to the percent, I'm just gonna multiply by 100, and I'm gonna move the decimal point 2 times to the right, so it will be 37.5%. And that's it. For the third part, I'm gonna recap the thing I said for the first and the second part. So I'm gonna make a table. Suppose here I have a fraction. Here I have decimal. And here I have percent. I'm gonna take 4 examples. Okay, so let's see here. Let's say we have 36%. I want to find the decimal and the fraction for it. Suppose here I have 2 out of 9. Suppose here I have 0.0413. And suppose here we have Let's take 8 out of 15. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the first number. So how can we go from a percent to a decimal? I said I have to move the decimal point 2 times to the left, or it will be easier to start with a fraction and later find the decimal. So I said that 36% means it's 36 over 100. We can divide here by 4 and here by 4. So 36 out of 4 it will be a 9, and 100 out of 4 it will be 25. Okay, so how can we find the decimal? I told you always to find the decimal, use the fraction with the 100 on the bottom. So here I have just to move the decimal point 2 times to the left. So it will be just the 0.36. Okay, now for the percent here, I said we have to multiply. How can we go from a decimal to percent? We have just to multiply by 100. So always to go from a decimal number to a percent, we have to multiply by 100. In other words, I'm gonna move the decimal point twice to the right. So it will be 4.13%. And how can I make it a fraction? Always take your percent as it is and divide it by 100. What does it mean? Means we're gonna move the decimal point 2 times to the left, or here we are talking about fraction, so no need to do it. Just if we can simplify, we cannot, so this is my simplest form. Okay, now for 2 out of 9, how can I find the decimal number? Just I have to make the long division. So 2 can it be divided by 9? No, so it will be a 0, and I'm gonna add another 0. 20 divided by 9 will give me 2. So 2 times 9, sorry, it's 18. So again here it's a 2. And 20 divided by 9 is 2. So it's a repeated decimal. So it will be 0.222 because we need 3 place values after the decimal point. And how can we go for a percent? I said always multiply the decimal number by 100. So it will be 22.2% because I just moved the decimal point 2 times to the right. Now the same thing for this one, and we did it before. Why? I said 8 divided by 15 is 0.533. To go for the percent, I have just to multiply by 100, and I have to move the decimal point 2 times to the right, so it will be 53.3%, and that's it. So to recap, I said from a decimal to a percent, we have to multiply by 100. And if I'm going from a percent to a decimal, I have to divide by 100. And that's it.